Hello and welcome to a special program focusing on the interventions for the relief of flood conditions uh, in Region 6. We've heard about the problems encountered by cattle farmers in the Cookrit savannas, but we've also had flooding in the Manarabisi savannas as well as in the upper quarantine areas, number 52 through to number 65. We're going to be hearing about the interventions taken so far by the NDIA, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, and with us in studio this afternoon to bring us up to date on the interventions that have been taken so far and continue to be made is the CEO of the NDIA, Mr. Frederick Flats, and with him is the Prime Minister's representative in Region 6, Mr. Gobind Harbhajan. Gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you both to the special program to update the citizens here about the efforts being made to relieve flood conditions in the areas mentioned before. Before I go further, I'd like to just give you an idea of the worst hit area, and that's the Cookrit Savannah. It stretches from Port Moran to the number 51, 52 area on the quarantine, some 12,000 acres. This is not a declared drainage and irrigation area. This means that the NDIA has no responsibility for the area and collects no rates from the users of these cattle pastures. Now, 7 drains, canals if you like, are used to drain the Cookrit savannas, the water from the Cookrit savannas into the Kanji Creek. The problem with draining into the Kanji Creek was that the Kanji Creek waters rose because of the excessive rainfall we've been having, flooding into the savanna. So unless you found an alternative route, then you couldn't get the water out of Cookrit savanna. Again, Manarabisi cattle pasture, 53,000 acres, was also flooded, but that water was sent through number 52, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. And now the water has receded somewhat in the Manarabisi pasture. All right, so the Cookrit savanna is still flooded. It is at its highest. The Kanji Creek went down some 16 inches, but again, you've seen the rainfall we've had over the past 2 nights. The waters has risen again in the Kanji Creek. So, all right, so let's go and talk about the interventions from the beginning, the steps that you've taken so far to address the problems within the region in these particular hardest hit areas.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Holder. There are a number of interventions that have been taken by the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority since the flooding started in the Cookrit Savannah. One of the main interventions, which was actually taken by Gaisuku, was to drain water from the Kanji Creek into the Borbis River via the Tarani Canal. Now we all know that under normal circumstances, we bring water from the Borbis River into the Kanji via the Tarani Canal. Well, we're reversing that. As a matter of fact, water is flowing day and night out of the Kanji into the Tarani. And even with that, we're not seeing the desired level of fall in the water level. So that's one. That's one of the main interventions. Remember, as has been said before, the Cookrit Savannah drains into the Kanji. So as long as the water in the Kanji is high, the Cookrit Savannah will not be drained effectively. So draining the Kanji through the Tarani, that's one of the interventions. In the Blackbush Polder area, primarily in the Lesby Holden area, we've also been draining water. You may ask why Lesby Holden? Because Lesby Holden is higher than the Yakasari, Joanna, and maybe Curie area. So we drain water to the ocean from the back through this area. And there are 4 places where we've put down tubes, these black tubes. And we are sending water from the main canal into 4 of our irrigation systems, and then from the irrigation systems we're sending the water into the drains. There are also a number of cuts on the dam between the Blackbush Polder and the Cookrit Savannah. Some were made by cattle farmers. What we've done is that we've gone to those points and we've put down tubes, because without the tubes, the cuts will just get bigger and bigger until they can become uncontrollable. So we have done that. In addition, we have placed a number of pumps at some sluices, like the Lesby Holden sluice there at Adventure. We have a large pump, a 120 cubic pump there. That's to help to get rid of the water from the Lesby Holden area, because the rice farmers in the Blackbush Polar area, even though they sympathize with what's happening at the back in the Cookrit Savannah with the cattle, they do not want to lose their crop. So it means that we had to send water into the Blackbush Polar area and ensure that we can pump it out. So in addition to the normal gravity drainage, we had to have some mobile pumps to get that water out. We have done the same at number 52 sluice. We've put down 2 mobile pumps there to get rid of additional water that we are sending into the system. In addition to that, we have our pumps at number 43 Joppa. They're working. And we also have our pumps at Bengal and at Eversham. They are all working. About 2 weeks ago, there were rumors that those pumps are not working, but they've been working all the time. I have actually gone there, and I'm absolutely certain that those pumps are working, and we are doing our best. In addition to what I've already stated, we have cleaned about 4 miles or 1650 rods of drains in the number 52 area, 52 drain in particular. But that is mainly helping the Manaribisi cattle pasture, which I should say is out of danger, because we've been able to get that water down, although we continue to drain it day and night. It's not that there's no water there, but I would say cattle are not at risk at this point in the Manaribisi pasture. We've also cleaned the Fowler Canal. This is a canal linking the number 52 area to the number 66 Creek. And I think that's why we have been able to get the water down in the Manaribisi cattle pasture. Also, along with the cleaning of the Fowler Canal, there are 4 control doors that we use to send the water into the 66 Creek, and they were defunct for a number of years or decades. We have resuscitated those doors. Also, we have about 4 excavators in the area. We're doing all that we can with those excavators to see what we can do to help the farmers. However, I should state that with all that we are doing, the main issue is the Kanji Creek. If we cannot get that water down, then the relief will not be as fast as we want it. The Cookrit Savannah is supposed to be drained through the Kanji Creek. we were successful in getting the water in the Kanji Creek down to some extent, at least about 16 inches. But then we had intensive rainfall last Thursday night. I think we've had some over the last few nights. And unfortunately, the water in the Kanji Creek has gone up again. So the key to it, apart from all that we are doing, is that the water level in the Kanji Creek will have to go down. I know that some persons are asking for us to send more water through the Blackbush Polder area, but we have to be careful with this. We do not want to send too much water into the Blackbush Polder area. Right now, what we're doing is that we are sending as much water as we can get rid of, but we do not want to send excessive water. Sometime last week, for a day or so, we had some excessive water and we had to close down some of those tubes that were sending water into the system. So we have to regulate what we're doing. It's not just sending any amount of water through.
Tell me, what's the danger of sending too much water into the Blackbush drain system? In our preamble, we had you had mentioned the state of the water in the Cook Red Savannah right now, and because of that condition, the condition of the water in the Cook Red Savannah as it is right now, if that got into the irrigation system in Blackbush and got into the rice field, pose some problems. So just talk a bit about that.
Well, what has happened is that a lot of the water from the Cook Red Savannah got into the main canal, and what we found is that that water was very smelly. I understand that might have been caused because the water was stagnant and not enough oxygen in the water. And what the farmers said is that if they were to use that water in their rice fields, to use their words, they said it will melt the rice. So what we had to do was to pass that same water through the Blackbush Polder area. But we got it into the irrigation system, and then we were able to get it into the drainage system before farmers were able to use it. So that right now, any irrigation that they're getting, it's good water. So we have solved that part. Also, if persons who were involved in cash crop had used that water, then we suspect there might have been some adverse effects. So we are doing all that we can from the NDIA's perspective. The only thing that we are not able to do effectively is to get the water in the Kanji Creek down.
Yeah.
That's the difficult one.
All right, Harbhajan, you've been on the ground and you've been visiting the areas affected. What's your assessment of what has been happening there?
Chris, thanks for having me with the NDI CEO, Mr. Flats. Chris, our office has been receiving complaint by farmers, the cattle farmers or rice farmers becoming actually every day. And the 74 cattle farmers with the rice farmers visit the office, I think it was Tuesday, and they were talking about 52, which she said the Fowler Canal, which we call it known as clamshell, from 52 to 65. Presently, there is 2 excavator working there, and that they are out of danger, like he says. So the Savannah would have been dropped. However, from the Seafoot to Sukram Cross, which is about 1,543 rods. Presently, I think the excavation work has been going on there to ease the water within 52 to 65. So the 52 outfall is taken that. I visited the area last week, Thursday, and we went up to Sukram Cross, and the little report we get from Guy Suku and the water user that the Kanji Creek would have dropped by 14 inches or maybe more. But it's said Thursday night, the rainfall Friday night and up to last night. So that water would have been raised back. What happened, Chris, also the cattle and the rice farmer from Blackbush area also form a delegation and come to the office the following day. Many of these cattle farmers who got cattle at Cook Red is also rice farmers, is 90% of them. And these cattle farmers will come up with these ideas, or these rice farmers, to cut this dam or cut that dam. Well, I advise them that as an engineer has to make that decision, because you see, Chris, if the Cook Red Savannah is in danger right now, we cannot follow some of these cattle farmers and try to release the water into Blackbush, because you will have a disaster. Because one, you got the residential area. If you make one slip, you can flood the residential area and destroy the rice at the same time. What we have did, we in communication with the region. I think the vice chairman Dennis DeHoop and I talked a few times up to just now. I spoke to him. One of his suggestions he has to get the water move a little more fast within the 66 area. I mean, like the CEO said, Mr. Flat said that that area is not too much of a danger now, but he's still recommending that we have over 1,500 rod to clear out from 66 outfall, if that can be done. So I spoke to the CEO, and that either the region or they have to see how they can think that. I tend to send an email, and they will, look into that. Come back on this side at Cook Ridge Savannah. Chris, if we go out there and peddle that the water will be dropped, I think we're peddling wrong information. The truth of the matter is, based on information, and I'm from that area, is that till Kanji Creek water drop, the Cook Ridge Savannah water will not going to go anywhere. There's another recommendation which was made by the regional vice chairman, and I think he spoke to Nestor, the regional engineer, is bring the water through Alnis Canal, which would have been clear and put a 36-inch tube. But I'm not familiar with the area, but I sure the NDICO will take a look at it. But all this recommendation is coming in, Chris, but that's the only area we have problem right now is the Cook Ridge Savannah. Crabwood Creek, I checked with them, they're pretty much okay up that end. The thing is does the rain fall more in the interior? That's another thing. But as we look at it right now, is that until Kanji Creek water no go down, we can't do nothing. Cotton Dam, I think we have to be very careful where you cut, because it's the Kanji Creek. If you cut any other area, you're talking a free flow of water. Kanji Creek water will bail in, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
And it will be a disaster. With the pressure it will come. So if you look at all these recommendation coming into the office to call that one, I always pass it through the agriculture minister, and he just get on to him and say, well, you'll take a look at what area. But the 5274 cattle farmers and rice farmers did raise little concern when we were digging from Seaford, right now clearing from Seaford to Socram Cross, is that if we are going, they have the someone would inform them that we were going to cut the 52 dam and bring the Cook Ridge water into 52 outfall. They were concerned that if the water come into the 52 outfall, it will flow into the 5265 Savannah, and that will be a disaster. I think I spoke to the minister and Mr. Flats to take a second look at it, because we can cause more damage there.
But that wasn't done.
That wasn't. I don't think that was done.
No, that wasn't done, but it was a consideration. We looked at it and realized it was fraught with danger, and we didn't want to take the risk, because we could end up destroying the rice in the 5274 area.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we have. As long as we're trying to get the water through the cultivated areas, then we have to do so without destroying the crops. Otherwise, that will also be a national disaster.
You see, too, Chris, the mixed messages that farmers are getting, and they will call you very angry that, oh, this pump is not working, that pump is not working, there is no diesel. I drive myself to some of these areas, and they told me that for the 3 pump is not working, there is no diesel. When you go, the pump is working, there's 1,500 gallons of diesel there. And so is all the other pump. When they pass, they might see some of this pump is not, because if the water is falling, the tide is going, what you find the regional engineer, the NDI engineer, will open the door, and then the water will go with gravity flow. Yeah. So then he's not going to push with that. You hear they say that the water can come through Adventure. You can't take that risk and go endanger the residential area, because the water user chairman in Blackbush, Rishi, I spoke to him before I come, and I think he's monitoring the situation very carefully, because the water user association has an executive body, and some of these bodies is also rice farmers and cattle farmers. they know the area more than you and I, and they would deal with the regional engineer. And what they are telling us, I think we should. And then sometime if I have doubts of what they said, I will get on to the vice chairman, because he also familiar with the area, and he will make a few recommendations. But if we take every advice that come into the office what to do, we will be in danger.
I want to take you back a bit to the history of the Cookred Savannah. It is my understanding that it was a basin for, well, to be used as a reservoir for irrigation water. But then it was awarded to cattle farmers, I think on a temporary basis to house animals. So it does not fall under the drainage and irrigation areas of the region. So this problem that we are having this year, because of these extended and intensive rainfall periods, what it says to me is that because of the prevailing circumstance that is attached to Cookred Savannah and the other areas that were affected, that this will happen again next year.
No, it won't happen again.
Even if we have this,
If we have the same
rainfall
level of
pattern.
rainfall, yes. But if you talk to persons who've been around the Cookred cattle pasture for the last 40 years, they will tell you that they've never seen anything like this. So it may be that we will not see such flooding for a number of decades again. But from the NDI's perspective, we are already looking at what can be done to prevent such an occurrence happening. And of course, we have a lot of ideas, such as empoldering the entire area.
12,000 acres.
Yes, empoldering the entire area, especially the area you have the Kanji Creek. Because what should happen is no matter how high the water in the Kanji Creek would rise, that water should not be able to come into the Cookred Savannah. And if you have pump station, then you can pump the water out. Having said that, those are the sort of ideas that we're going through, because as hydraulic engineers, we can solve that sort of problems. But if you were to go in there and put down pumps and so on, would farmers be willing to pay a fee? No, those are just some of the ideas that are going through our heads. But in terms of a long-term solution, then we'll have to empolder the entire Cookred Savannah, put down sluices so that it can be gravity drainage when the Kanji is low, and also you can pump into the Kanji. So unless you have rainfall such as we're experiencing right now, then I will not expect to have such flooding perhaps for the next 2 or 3 decades.
You see, Christo, also if the Cookred Savannah was designed back in when the Blackbush polder would have been commenced at those time, and the cattle farmer would have go and seek a little grazing there, but I think a few of them went beyond and they went to plant rice there, and it was not for that purpose, and they would have lost the rice during this thing. I as far as if they are paying any lease, I don't think so at this time. I mean, the NDI can able to address that, but some of these problems that we have there, even if you would have impounded that area and tried to pump the water, the cattle farmers themselves, throughout the years they have that thing, would have cut little corner here and there to drain water and take in water. Those things end up huge now because of the pressure. So they cause a little bit of this on themselves, and one of the recommendation, what we would make as they're digging 52 up to Sukram Cross, is that if they can continue that to another 1.5 miles more for a long term, then the cattle farmer, I met with the cattle farmer and the rice farmer, both agree that if we continue from Sukram Cross, I think last year Mr. Flats and I visited the area with the engineer, and they're asking for another 1.5 miles, which will take us up more to the Kanji Creek. So that because 50 fall is a shorter distance to an outfall with gravity flow there, I will support that idea for long term, because you can bring some Cookred water across with a door and something. But I spoke to Mr. Su, which is the Joshua engineer, I just want the viewers to know that during the time of this disaster that we have, the NDIA, through the agriculture minister, they would get the Georgetown engineer and the local engineer spend days back there. And what they are doing there right now is that these two engineers and the team and Mr. Flats, they come up with ideas. So it was more than one people looking at things a different direction. And I spoke to Mr. Su, and he said that he was going to put a proposal to NDIA on how we do it in the long term. Even if you impolder the thing, then you're going to trap water. When you pump them, if these cattle farmers get all these little tubes that you don't know about in kind of you're carrying waters in circles. So they has to assist, and right now they don't even know where the water coming in from. So even if you try to take some water through Blackbush like Rishi is trying to do, you're not getting anywhere because you're sucking from Kanji Creek.
Exactly.
Right? So and if you try to pelt that Cookrit water into 52, you're not dropping Cookrit. You're sucking in from Kanji Creek.
Yeah.
But in the long haul, once the rain is up, I sure the water will go with Kanji Creek will take that direction. And as far as the cattle farmers, they do have some loss. But one of the downfall for the cattle people in this region, the cattle farmer, Chris, for the past few weeks, I'm urging them to form a cattle association, a regional cattle association. We don't want every NDCs to have cattle association and have 30 cattle association. We need a regional cattle association. So which can have a good representation. So this we will know how many cow has died during this Florida animal. Because right now you're getting different numbers and it's not adding up, because then that one gonna say you tell them like I would like to take the opportunity to urge the cattle farmers to form a cattle association, and if there is any little help through the region or through central government, with that body, that will make it a plus for them. These numbers of cow died one time, I hear you get 700, 1,000, and then when I went back there, I have a feeling it's about 200 and something. In total, in a wide range between 52, 74 to maybe Port Morant, it can be 3, but I don't think it's about anything beyond that. And maybe the engineer would able.
So in the meantime, perhaps you can just tell us what the cattle farmers in those affected areas have done with their cattle.
Those farmers, I met with about 20 to 30 of them who mostly have cow in Cookrit. They bring the cattle to higher grounds where they can get some grazing because the water is too much. And I believe the couple animal what left there presently may not make it. However, because they bring in the cattle into the upper front land, the acting prime minister, the acting president at the time was Honorable Prime Minister Moses, suspend the pong, the stray catchers to pong the animal. But as you may read in the press, that I think the RPA president make a statement that the cow coming in and destroy. I don't think it's to that magnitude, but you do have some wicked cattle farmers who say, you know what, look, they're not ponging animal now. Let me lose my cow to go destroy. The percentage of that is small. Like I said earlier, the said cattle farmers is also rice farmers, 90% of them. So, you know, I don't want them to run away with this thing, say that they're supporting the cattle farmer. This animal, if I met a guy, if you bring out 24, 3 or 4 will die. They're very weak, you know. So that's the cattle is coming to higher grounds, but the cattle farmers are feeling some blow, and I want to see whatever assistance can be given to them or how, but without a cattle association to make proper representation through any ministry. Even the agriculture minister has to get something.
There were calls for some assistance in terms of feed and supplements and so on for those farmers that were affected. Has any of that taken place as yet?
I think there was a team with Cumberbatch team up in Berbice. They were trying to assess the situation, but it'll be very difficult with this vet to able to understand how many cow go, because you're getting different numbers from this cattle farmer. To form a cattle association, Chris, it doesn't take long. It can take a day or two. All of them reach, they set up a body and write to the relevant ministry and say, look, we get some losses. It's like how the rice farmer has RPA. they have some sort of representation.
All right. I want to ask you here about the norm as it relates to drainage and irrigation in this region. NDIA has come on board in this disaster type situation and have rendered significant help and continues to do so. But in terms of the on the ground, as it were, in the various region villages and towns and so on here in Region 6, how does it farm out in terms of the responsibility for keeping canals clear, outfalls, drainage and irrigation facilities, and so on?
We have in this region, I think, approximately 15 NDCs, and every NDC has a works committee chairman beside the NDC chairman, and the committee will the people in the area will report to them on which area blocked or clogged, and the region also will get report on that. I think the vice chairman, Dennis De Hoop, who's also the works committee chairman. Some of these NDC is on the A game, like I will say Albion or 5274 and a few other more. But if they don't highlight the these problems during the dry season, and then when the rain comes down, you're gonna have a little difficulties there. Some of these councillors who was appointed, NDC councillor who was appointed works committee chairman, I don't think they have knowledge, but they make it harder for the region if they don't report these areas. So we do have some of that where negligence play a part in residential area during the flooding season, which can all be prevented because NDIA at WIM has a workshop, and they have this machine which they will loan to the NDC once they give them adequate notice. And I know so because sometimes when I get complaint, I stop. I was never lucky to reach Nesta, the office there. There's another guy named Arjun, and he will give me a little brief on what's, and then he said, look, this machine will just repair down to 90. So NDI is working hand in hand, and I think y'all provided these laws, right? Or the region?
The region provides it.
Right, the region provided these laws. But NDIA has a good relationship with NDC. But some of these NDC, I want the public to know that your citizen in your NDC, you have to pressure your councillor who represent your constituency at the NDC. If you sit there and wait till the flood happen and go to the NDC, and then the overseer doesn't have an answer for you, you bring that upon yourself, because the regional chairman or the REO or the works committee chairman will not going to fully aware what's going on at a point. The statutory meeting they have at this NDC, I keep urging residents in the area to attend these meetings and raise the concern, especially when it comes to drainage and irrigation. Because I see some of the area, I think within 58 to 59, I grew up in that area, never flooded before. Then you have all these waters, they read it in Chronicle, and some other areas put Moran to the back. So the Works Committee chairman has an obligation to take the report to the vice chairman of the region and tell them, look, we have this and we have that, this got to dig big. When the rainy season comes, there's bare pandemonium. Then you run to NDIA. Some of these outfall, I think, fall under the NDIA, right, or all. Right. But if the NDCC within the area, like I think in 2016, there was a couple within you get Lancaster, you get Letterkenny. I was there when they cleaned those things because we highlighted, because the Axtyle NDC, the Lancaster NDC would have bring that to our attention, and how we get that, the region help and clear that. If the other NDC followed that thing, we were not going to have that problem. Like 66 right now, where the vice chairman is asking to clear there right now, which can release some water through the Watapa and the Fowler Canal, which is clamshell, will go out faster. If the NDC within that area would have brought it to the attention of the region, that we wouldn't have been a city discussing that. I mean, they would have said, look, the boats are parking up at 66, the water is not going, but right now, yes, the work has to be going if you want the water to go in little gravity flow. I think they're asking for 1,500 rod to be clear. And you got a couple contractors here is willing to do it. And in the meantime, the NDIC will take a look at how that should go, either the region or them.
For the purposes of those who wonder at the role of NDIA, what are you responsible for nationally, and probably break it down into say, for example, Region 6, what exactly are you annually expected to do without people coming and say, oh God, we're bad, we need a little help?
Well, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority is governed by an act. And under the act, we have responsibility for the declared drainage and irrigation areas. Three of those areas in Region 6 would be the Crabwood Creek area, 5274, and the Blackbush Boulder. However, we do not stand by while you have emergency situations going on. So we are always willing to intervene. As a matter of fact, we prefer to intervene before you have an emergency. And so we help in cleaning a number of channels throughout the region. And also we have in Region 6, 12 mini excavators which are used by the region. We provide them, and they are used mainly in the residential areas to prevent flooding. So we are involved. For example, we're hearing here that there is need for the cleaning of the number 66 creek. We're going to look at it. Mr. Harajan also spoke of another intervention in Albion. This afternoon, I'm going to have discussions with our engineers to find out how possible is it for us to help in that way. And also we have to look at, will there be any adverse effects upon other farmers, and to make sure that those farmers are on board. Do we need to send in an additional pump? Because if you're sending water through an area where farmers are, as the NDIA, we have to put things in place just in case we have additional water there. For example, if we are sending water through an area and you have an all-night rainfall, once we are sending water through, the farmers will blame the NDIA. So we have to take all measures to ensure that we can get rid of extra water from the area. So overall, NDIA has an overall responsibility. Even though under the Act we have specific responsibilities throughout the country, Region 9, Region 10, the coastal regions, we look for ways in which we can help with drainage and irrigation.
All right. So you have the NDCs overseeing their particular little corner of the world. But then you have Water Users Association. At one time, this was a big thing. This was a very important group of folks, water users in the various villages and communities across the region. How has that been working? We've heard all kinds of negative things about Water Users Association in recent times. What has been your experience?
Well, I support water user, and I will support that we have more water user, because it is an entity managed by the farmer. They elect their chairman, they elect their executive body.
Well, what's the role of this organization?
I think their job is to maintain canals and see that the dam in the rice cultivation area is up to date by collecting a fee. And most of the time they will run to NDIA, which NDIA also got to pump money into them at times, so subvention or some work need to be done. One of the things with these water users, I think Blackbush is running very efficiently. That's one thing I can see since I took office there. I'll get an update sometime I visit. Crabwood Creek got some hiccups, but they are trying. One of the hiccups they having with some payments lately, but Mr. Flatson, I talked about it. I brought it to the minister's attention, and I'm sure he will go back and take a look at it. But they are doing fairly well for an organization who are run by themselves. 5274, I think they need, I don't know what's going on there, because we keep the last outreach we do with the agriculture minister outreach at Crabwood Creek, not one person from 5274 water users show up, and that's the biggest one. So, but what you will find, Chris, that when they have disaster like dam need to be made or they need a machine right away, then the come straight to the agriculture minister or Mr. Flatzer, and then you want it done like that. But if when you do outreach and you have the agriculture team and you don't come to highlight certain things, what's going to happen or what plan we have, then I don't know how NDIA thing designed to do that. I'm going to put Mr. Flats on the thing. I'm asking that you do an audit, an independent audit on these water users, so you can have an understanding to answer Chris' question. This come under a lot of scrutiny with how they operate and how they do it. But Blackbush, for me, I think is running pretty much good. Even the region get caught up in the mix, and I will say this clearly that at times you will get duplicate work. NDIA, water user, and region. How do you know which one repeat? And then remember, you're talking hundreds of million. So it's something they have to go back. I mean, Flat's been around long prior to we getting government. He can able to sift that out. But we do have some problem with them. But it is a good, water user is good for farmers because it is something they manage. They got their money, but there are some little hiccups in some of them.
What has been your experience working with water users associations in this region?
Well, right now in Guyana we have 11 water users associations. We're talking about farmers organizing themselves to help themselves. Some are quite okay, some are not so okay. In Region 6, I believe that the Crabwood Creek and the Blackbush Polar, they are going okay. And the others, no, they can be helped. And we have a coordinator who works with these water users association to assist. Also, from time to time, we do audits of these water users associations. So I believe that the water users associations are here to stay. And what they need is additional support. And we try as much as possible to help them. I'm saying that because I was in the system at the time when we were thinking of forming water users associations. And before that time, we used to send contractors into the area to clean the drains and to repair the structures. And you will have so many farmers that will come to your office and say the drain was not properly cleaned, the structure was not properly done. What we found now is that since we have given over this responsibility to the water users associations, well, they can't come to tell you that their drains are not properly cleaned because they're doing it themselves. And so we believe, and I actually believe that the drains are better maintained because they are the farmers. Why will they want to not clean their drains properly?
And they find local contractors in the area who they will feel comfortable. So they wouldn't go back and say, Ministry of Agriculture, India, you bring a contractor from Georgetown to clean 2 canals at 5274 or Blackbush. So the water user, they have the statutory meeting and they will pick their own contractors to maintain canals. So that's why I support the water user. I don't know the financial history of it, but what I do know that the Blackbush and Crabwood Creek is doing fairly well. You know.
The Region 6 administration has often complained about finding it difficult to execute their mandate as it relates to fully implementing their drainage and irrigation program, albeit for want of equipment or proper contractors to do the work. I understand at one time they were often forced to call upon the NDIA to execute work that they were supposed to do. I've heard it said that perhaps they should warrant all the money that they have for drainage and irrigation to the NDIA, to have the NDIA overlook this aspect of their responsibilities in the region. Has that ever been floated, as far as you're aware?
Well, it's currently being discussed. There was an article in the newspapers recently by Minister Bulkan, where we're thinking that it may be the best thing for the NDIA to control what is happening in the cultivated areas and let the regions and NDCs be more concerned with the residential areas.
I will support that.
It's confusing sometimes. I'm in a system, and I hear I'm going to talk nationwide. You know, you have so many players in it. You have the regions, you have the NDCs, you have the municipalities, you have Gaisuku, you have MMA, you have NDIE. There's so many players, and we believe that in the cultivated areas, let the National Drainage and Irrigation take complete control. What's happening now is that we do 20 drains, the region do these 6, the NDC will do this. Forget it. Let the NDIA do the works in the cultivated areas, and the residential areas, we believe the region is very well equipped to handle that.
Yeah, that's why I use the word duplicated work. It happened.
Lines get crossed.
Line get crossed, but then there's NDIA has a budget, the region has a budget, and then what the user may actually subvention. But when you look at it, NDIA is getting beat up left, right, and center because the man said, "Man, look, we call NDIA." They never tell you no because pressure. You know, we need this, we need that. But then what happened to the budget that you budgeted for the region to do this or do that? So, you know, I think they have to pay more attention to that, so that we doesn't waste taxpayer money, you know, when it's supposed to be in good use. I will support that the NDC look after the little community with a little excavator. And many times NDIA will, you know, give them, they break it, they bring it fixed and go back, which is okay. But I strongly support that the NDC bought or the ministry give them their own little excavator in every NDC, so they don't have to run to WIM. Because when you do that now, I don't know how they build the system with who broke what, but there's a lot of things. It's not straight, but I don't know how they keep up with it. If they just have to turn a blind eye in certain things.
Well, actually, I like the idea of the NDIE being responsible for the equipment, but giving them to the region for operation. It's not an easy thing to keep machines going. In the NDIA, we have 100 excavators, bulldozers, and so on, throughout the country, including Region 9. And we are able to keep them going. Right now, we have 86% of those equipment working. In terms of our pumps throughout the country, we have 59 out of our 60 pumps working. And some persons may think that just happens. It takes a lot of work. If you're going to have 59 out of 60 pumps working, or 86% of your excavators and bulldozers working, it's a lot of hard work. Now, fortunately, in the NDIA, we have 23 engineers. We have hydraulic engineers, general civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, agricultural engineers. And so we are able to keep things going. When you look at the regions, the NDCs, the reality is they do not have that, they have limited resources. So we believe that we can keep the machines going and let them operate it. I personally think if you were to just give the machines over to the NDCs and the RDCs, they may have difficulties in keeping them going. So we prefer to keep them going, keep the machines working, and let the regions use them.
And provide the technical skill to use them.
Yes, well, in terms of the operation, we'll normally hire operators, or the region will hire the operators, security, servicemen. They provide the fuel, but we will send a warrant to the region, including Region 6, for the operation of these equipment.
I wanted to quickly ask for an update. I remember when Minister Holder came to Region 6 on that outreach where he had that meeting in Crabwood Creek, or Skeldon, was it?
Crabwood.
Crabwood Creek. But before you got to Crabwood Creek, you paid a visit to the Albion Back Dam, Mr. Arjun's area there at the back that had been flooded. And the NDA had offered to help with a pump there. Were you able to deliver the pump, and what has been the results since?
The water at the back of Frey Ridge, that chicken Arjun area, the water has been dropped dropped, so they don't have a problem there now. But he did face some losses there, but the water was able to go down. I think because of the estate man had that pump, number one pump, would have been in some shambles there, and I think the NDIE and the agriculture minister at that time make a decision that they was gonna get a new engineer temporary. So
How did that work out?
Oh, the pump station that was used to drain that area was an electrical pump, and there were some problems with the motor. So we were told that the motor will take about 11 days before it could be repaired. Well, you can't wait for 11 days while there was so much water on the land. So we got a contractor who was able to put in a mechanical pump, and that has been working so far.
That's still there.
It's still there. I checked the area afterwards, and the water had dropped by over 2 feet, and so the farms were not under any danger. Right now, no, with the rain that has fallen over the last 2 days, there is some amount of water in the system, and I'm currently looking at whether or not I need to send an additional pump to help in that area.
All right. We're just about out of time. So before we go, any last thoughts? Harbhajan, we can start with you.
yeah, I just want the viewers to understand is there is some information that Blackbush is being flooded out. I'm getting calls from overseas and here and there, and there's some information, misleading information. I think there's 2 RDC councillor in Blackbush, and they should be able to get better understanding and bring out the information to the RDC, and then the RDC vice chairman or chairman can know. But Blackbush it doesn't have any flooded there. Also, a number of letters would have been right to the regional chairman about situation affecting them, and I have a meeting with the REO, and she says some of these letters she don't know about that. I'm urging the groups or the cattle or the cattle farmers or rice farmers who would have concern, and when you write the regional chairman, if it has to do with the region and administration work within what done, please CC the REU so she can aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Yes, I want to assure the cattle farmers that from the NDI's perspective, we will do everything that is possible to help to get the water off. The reality is, although at the beginning of this program I listed a number of interventions that we're taking, because the water in the Kanji has risen again, we have not been able to achieve our objective. In Manaribisi, yes, we've been able to send a lot of the water through to the 52 sluices and clean channels and so on. But in the Cookrit Savannah, we've only been able to send a certain amount of water or a limited amount of water through the Blackbush Polder area. Some person will ask, why didn't we send more? Because we do not want to destroy the rice crop. So we have to send as much as we can get rid of by gravity and pump drainage. We cannot flood the Blackbush Polder area. So that's why we have not sent more into that area. Now, we will continue to look at what other interventions we need to have to ensure that we get rid of the water in the Cookrit Savannah as soon as is possible.
I want to thank you both for taking the time to come sit with me to provide some information on the interventions taken to relieve flood situations or flood conditions here in Region 6. The rain, of course, continues. Last night, it fell all night. And, once it's raining, problems will occur if it continues with the intensity and the length of time it is occurring. I want to thank those of you at home who've sat through this program. We certainly hope that we've been able to answer the questions you may have had relative to flooding in your area. And for those of you in the other areas, we hope that you now understand the plight of those in those flooded areas. Until next time then, I'm Christopher Holder, and on behalf of the entire team at the Ministry of Agriculture, saying so long. See you around.